Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything from hair to fashion to skincare products. We'll talk about the latest trends in makeup, hairstyles, and anti-aging remedies. And we'll cover all of the newest fashion trends. If you have an interest in or questions about the beauty and fashion trends that might work best for you, the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast has got you covered.
Welcome to the GSMC Beauty Tips Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Colleen, and let's just get into some beauty stuff. So, I am reorganizing my studio space, and I realized that my kit is in disarray. And I've got a lot of makeup in this space as well, a lot of my makeup. So I thought we would go through, because I need to reorganize anyway, I thought we would go through what's in my makeup collection. And that's going to entail not only beauty products, but special effects products, products that I use when I'm doing a haunted house, and just kind of a plethora of things, kind of so you could see what I have not only in my kit, but my personal collection. I'm not going to go over a lot of the stuff that I've already talked about before in different podcasts, but I am going to go over a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff, and I'll explain to you what I use it for, and if I really recommend it, or that kind of thing. So let's get started with palettes. So I'm going to start off with the more beauty-related palettes that I have and then move on. And this is actually from a part of my kit. So this is the kit, so I have a two-tiered kit that rolls. And one has a lot of stuff in it, and the other has a lot of stuff in it as well. So I'm going to go through the one that I was using the most, where I pack the most stuff that I use the most often. So let's start with palettes, and I'm going to start off with this. I've got a lot here. So let's start off with the Mini Breaker palette. I got this in a Jeffree Star mystery box for Halloween, and I love this palette. I love the formula, the whole thing, and I can use this for a plethora of things. I usually just use this for beauty, but I could use it for a lot of things because it's got some beautiful purple tones and some gorgeous brown tones as well. And let's move on to the next one. I'm going to set this down. And this one is an oldie but a goodie to me. And this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. Now, there was a lot of controversy about this palette online, and I just love the colors, so I picked it up, and I love this palette. I don't think there's a learning curve to it, but I'm a big believer in set shadow down and then blend out. When it comes to that, I love this palette. It is very well loved. It is very dirty. I've also hit pan on the color Dawn in this palette because it's a beautiful blending shade. And they say they're very powdery. There are a little bit of little powdery, but I'm also not swirling my brush to the point where I'm going to hit pan in this. I also use this for some of my haunted house looks, because there are some beautiful dark shades in here, and the shade Mercury is a very gray toned shade, and I use a lot of those in my character creation for a haunted house. So I love this palette. I think it's amazing. I don't have an issue using it. It is a little powdery, but I don't have an issue with any sort of powdery eyeshadows. I find that a lot of powdery ones work better for me, just in general. So I love this palette, the Subculture palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. I'm going to set that down. Everything's going to just slide and you're going to hear a big thump. I know it. So let's move on to the next one. I love this palette, and it's got fake blood all over it. Cool. So this is the Clown Blush palette by Likely Makeup. I've talked about this palette before, and I love everything. It's got 4 shades: Carnival, Contortion, Circus, and Carousel, a yellow, an orange, a red, and a pink. And I used this so much when I was working the haunted house. I also just love this for not only on the cheeks, but on the eyes. I just popped off a big chunk of fake blood. Cool. This is why I need to reorganize, because things are getting messy. So I love this palette. I highly, highly recommend this palette. I know she came out with a new one, and there's a possibility that I'm going to pick that one up as well. I think it's Fairy Blush. And they're not only good for blush, but for a lot of other things. So I really love this palette, and I use it a lot. Now, let's move on to a Morphe palette, and this is the Morphe Highlight and Contour Palette Illuminator and Contouring. So this I like a lot. I like for the colors, the contouring colors. I'm not the biggest fan of the highlight colors in this. They are just a little too iridescent. Like, all of them are iridescent in a way, and I like a more natural one, but I can use those a lot when it comes to any sort of special effects look I'm trying to do, or if I'm trying to do something avant-garde. So I do like this palette. I don't know, I did not use it a lot for Haunted House, but it was in my kit for the Haunted House. But I haven't used this palette a lot, and I think I really need to use it more. I've used a lot of the contour shades as eyeshadows, and I do like that as well. This is a pretty good palette, and I really like it. Now let's move on to this MAC palette, which is a magnetic palette with a bunch of colors that I picked out myself. So this palette has, I just dropped it and it's a mess, but has a color from a, Mary Kay contour. I've talked about it before. It's in the color Latte. That thing's okay, but not the best. Now let's move on to the shadows. These are all MAC shadows. I picked these out for my wedding specifically, and I use them for so much. I have the color Brown Sculpt, the color, oh my gosh, it's written so tiny, Uninterrupted, and Embark, and also I have Wedge. I love that color. And I have Brown Down, which is one of my faves, and my absolute fave that I have is Charcoal Brown. I love these colors. I picked these out myself, and I do plan to fill this palette to the brim eventually. Now, let's move on to one that I used a lot for my haunted house. And this is the Kat Von D Monarch palette. This is very old. I have hit pan so hard to the point where there is almost not enough to get out in the black shade in here. And I bought this originally as one of the first palettes I ever bought. And I bought this for the orangey color. They're all kind of muddy now, but I've been using them for the haunted house, and they work the best for that. I don't really use it for an everyday thing or on a lot of clients. It's just not what I use it for. This is also covered in fake blood. Now, let's move on to another one. And this is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Glow Kit in Sun Dipped. I loved this, and I actually put this away somewhere and haven't been able to find it in a really long time, so I am going to continue to use this. And I love this kit. I think it's beautiful. I use the color Summer for a highlight, and I dip Bronzed and Tourmaline, I'm not sure exactly what it's called, on contours, and it gives a really nice subtle glow to your bronziness. Not your contour, but your bronzing. Sorry, I'm a bit all over the place because there's a lot of makeup out here in front of me right now. Now, before I get into the other palettes, we're going to take a break, but before that, I want to talk about a palette that I have that I'm going to talk about after the break because it's going to take me a little bit longer to talk about, and that's the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette. And I'll explain more about that after the break. So let's take a quick break. And when I come back, we'll talk about this palette and a lot more that are in my collection.
The GSMC Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast. Now, this entire podcast, we're talking about what's in my makeup collection for professional use and also personal use and beauty and special effects and that kind of thing, because I am not so much decluttering as rearranging. So we talked about some of the more beauty-related palettes that I have, and I wanted to move on to one more of the more beauty-related before I move on to some other types of palettes. And this is the Jaclyn Hill palette with Morphe. And honestly, I don't like this very much. I bought it because I had so many people giving me so many good reviews on it. And honestly, to me, I don't like the formula so much. It's very, very sheer, I feel, and I gotta kind of work at it to get things to work. I mean, I'm gonna keep playing in it since I have it, and I do use it for some things. I've used it on clients before, and it's fine. I don't know how I feel when it comes to this palette. I don't know. I wouldn't really recommend it, to be honest. I know she came out with a new one, and that one might be good, but this one I'm just not the biggest fan of. But I will keep playing with it because I bought it, and I'm going to find a way to get my money's worth. That's kind of where I'm at when it comes to a lot of these products, is even if I have an issue with it, I'm going to work it in some other way. Now, let's move on to some more not so much beauty related, but kind of palettes. Oh, and there it goes. I knew it was going to be an avalanche. Okay, back on track after the avalanche, and let's move forward. I'm going to start with my Krylon Professional Makeup Super Color. And this is a bunch of different skin tones, kind of like foundations, and I like these. They're nice to mix, nice to use. I enjoy this. This is more for my special effects side of things, and also if I'm just for clients, if I don't have a correct color to match them, this can help. And let's move on to another Krylon palette. I like this palette a lot. This is the Krylon Professional Makeup, what are you called? Metallic palette. Oh, I hear one of them broke in here. That's okay. These are water activated, and they are some of the shiniest colors you will ever see in the history of the world, and they're fantastic. There's a silver, gold, copper, a silver green, a silver blue, and a silver lila, which is still kind of a silver blue to me when I use it. If you hear, I don't know if you can hear that, but one of them kind of broke because they are dry and then are reactivated with water, so even if it broke, I can still use it. I love this palette. This is so much fun for avant-garde looks, and I've also used it for some of my, some of the stuff that I did at the haunted house, which I really love. I just love this. It's so much fun to play with. This is one of my faves. Now let's move on to the Ace Vivi or something palette. It doesn't have a name. I think I got this off Amazon, and it's skin tones. And it's another kind of foundation-esque, concealer-esque palette. I like this one a lot as well. It's very creamy, and I find some really good colors in it to match people's skin tones. I've used this on a few projects, and I really enjoy this one. So I like this. Ow! It's the Ace Vivi or something, and it says P10 on the back, so I'm not 100% sure what this is. This has been in my kit for a minute. It's fine, I promise you. But it's been in my kit for a minute, and I really kind of enjoy this more than I thought I would. Now, let's move on to something I'm not a big fan of that is in my palette collection. This one is the Dermacolor Camouflage Mini Palette, and it's got a bunch of like mini little colors in it, including orangey red tones and a kind of olive green. Oh no, it's like a black. Never mind. So my hands are going to be so dirty. It's supposed to be kind of an olivey green, I believe, but it's not. And this is supposed to be for tattoo cover. I worked a TV show, or a Netflix show, and I had broken my regular like color correcting palette or palette that I use to cover tattoos, which I'm going to talk about in a minute because I do have one now. I had broke that one. It had just shattered everywhere, and I was so sad. And so I need to be on set. I couldn't get it right away, so I got this, and it's okay. I'm not a fan. It's just chunky, but I'm going to find a way to use it in other ways so I don't waste my money when it comes to this. I know it will have some other good uses. So let's move on to two of my favorite palettes. The first one is the Skin Illustrator FX palette. These are alcohol activated palettes. They're not cheap, but they are my favorite thing ever, and they last forever. Now, these are activated by 99% alcohol. In this one, I have a blood tone, a prime red, aged blood, burnt orange, bruised tone, something yellow. Prime yellow. There we go. It's covered in nastiness because I used the top as a palette. Then I have the ultra blue, green, black, and white. And these are fantastic for all sorts of things. I love this palette. This is special effects palette numero uno. I don't use this one so much when I'm doing a haunted house because it's a lot of children that work there that are the actors, and I don't want to put alcohol really close to their skin. And I'll use it on some of my actors, but not so much. But this is more for just special effects stuff in general. And let's move on to another one of my favorite palettes. This is the one that I use for tattoo cover-up that I love, that I had broken, and now I have a new one. This is the Skin Illustrator Onset palette. This is also an alcohol activated palette. Skin Illustrator, mainly alcohol activated. This one has a few tones: rice paper, cedar brown, natural, vein tone, natural 2, coral adjuster, LAO1, olive adjuster, LAO2, and rose adjuster. And I love this palette. It's funny because rice paper is actually the exact color of my skin, I found. And I love this palette. This palette is a must-have in my collection. I know you're probably hearing a lot of like thumping sounds, and that's me closing it. Sorry, they're a little aggressive. But I love this palette. I love the Skin Illustrator palettes in general. I've used a few different types of ones, and even a more cream type one that I had got to play around with when I was on set. And I wasn't that much of a fan of it, but these ones are my tried and true I love alcohol activated paints just in general. They really work for me. I know how to work with them. I love them. They're everything for my special effects. They are my absolute favorite. 110 million %. These are great, but you have to remember they are alcohol activated and they can be irritating. So just be careful if you have these and you're using them and who you're using them on. And to not get so close to the eyes. I do that sometimes, but do not follow my direction. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some more stuff that's in my kit and collection, of course.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast. Now, this entire podcast, we're talking about what's in my makeup collection. What's in my kit, what's in kind of like a more personal thing. I'm reorganizing, so I thought this would be a very good time to do this. Now, I went through palettes before the break, and I'm going to kind of just open up my kit right now and pull out some stuff that's in it and let you guys know what everything is. And this way you can kind of see what's in this kit that it's mostly packed from my haunted house, but it has a lot of stuff that I use all the time. So this is why I'm reorganizing it, because it's still kind of packed for my haunted house. Now let's start with some of the stuff I pulled out of the top here. Now I have a zip-up bag that's a Morphe Brushes bag, but I think all my brushes are in my, I have a brush belt that I really enjoy using, so I think it's in that. I have a bunch of disposable cosmetic wedge sponges. I love those. I have some Ben Nye Plains Dust, which is character powder. It's fake dirt. And some stuff that I apparently have never opened. Oh, no. So I got this from the haunted house. This was extra stuff that was left over, and she gave it to me because we used all of the black in my Kat Von D palette. And she gave me a little Maybelline New York eye color. It's an eyeshadow in black. And then she also gave me a NYX Professional Makeup base. What is this? It's like a cream gel liner in black. So that's fun. I'm actually going to use that. So I love that a lot. I have some disposable lip wands because you don't want to share lip products. And we use a lot of black lipstick on it at the haunted house. And so I don't want to share lipstick with everybody, the same wand. So I use disposable wands. And just disposable things in general are really, really helpful. So I also have a, what is this? Oh, this is an airbrush brush. This is the Neo for Iwata brush. I'm not exactly sure which one this is. I like this one a lot. I have a little Neo Air airbrush. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it works for now. That's also in there. I also have some makeup remover wipes, some Q-tips that are flat on one end and a regular Q and like pointy on the other. Those ones are really handy. I have a red eyeshadow and one of my favorite things in the history of the world. Let me grab it. This is, cool. I can talk about this as well, but this is Nigel's Pros-Aid, and I love this Pros-Aid. I love Pros-Aid. It's just the most fantastic glue. It is a cosmetic glue. I use it to apply prosthetics, and I also use it to apply other things that I need to, and I really just like the Nigel's Pros-Aid. I know we had at the haunted house, why this is in here, I had a woman who was like a spider lady, and I would apply the spiders to her with the Pros-Aid. Love Pros-Aid. It's my favorite type of glue. I'm not a fan of spirit gum. I'm not a fan of spirit gum just personally. I don't like the way it smells. I think this works 100 times better. It's just my favorite. Now I also have a metal palette in here. I love my little metal palette. It works so well for so many things, for mixing colors and just doing whatever. I love having a little palette with me. And I have a little bag here. It's an Ipsy bag. I don't get Ipsy personally, but my sister does. And she got this one around Halloween time, and it's super cute because it's got little spell books, little witches on it, little cats and vampire fangs, and it's super cute. So let's see what's inside this. What did I put inside this? Oh, this has weird lip colors. So there's a red, because a red is always needed. I have a matte, like periwinkle color. Does this have a color name on it? I really want to know. Sorbet. And then I have a black gloss. This is the NYX Butter Gloss. I love this gloss. It's just black and glossy and looks fabulous. And then I have two more. I think they're all NYX except for my red one, which is a CoverGirl. I have a matte lip cream that is also black. And I have a very dark brown NYX Lingerie liquid lip in the color Deep Rooted. And these are just kind of colors that I knew I might need, so I put them all together. There's also just a straight black lipstick in there as well. I think that one's from Sephora. Now, in the rest of the kit, down in the depths, are a lot of brushes that I used and my brush belt. I also have some moss from the craft store. I think I got it at one of the, like a Hobby Lobby or a Michael's or something like that. I love that moss. I got it originally to help one of my friends out and do, for Halloween, he did a Beetlejuice cosplay costume. And I did his makeup and I applied the moss to his face using the the Pros-Aid that I talked about earlier, and it was fantastic, and it looked a lot better being very 3D. Now, I also have toothpicks. I have some Ben Nye Thick Blood, and I want to talk about these before we take a break. These are my favorite things in the history of the world. They came with contacts that I had received. They were colored contacts, and they came with these hair things. Now, let's see if you can hear it. Now, that is Velcro for your hair. That's literally what it is. And what it does is it pushes your hair back, and it keeps the hair out of the way, and when you pull it out, it doesn't hurt. These are my favorite things in the history of the world. I love these so much, and they're very special to me. And they are so helpful when I'm doing anybody's makeup, because I can just push their hair out of the way without pulling their hair or pinning their hair back or anything like that. And when I pull it out, it doesn't rip the hair out, which I love. These things are magical. I'm going to see and find out if I can find what they're called, because I do need more anyway. And I will put a link on the Twitter and the Facebook page, which is at GSMC_beauty tips on Twitter, and the GSMC Beauty Tips Facebook page as well. So you guys can buy these because they're fantastic. I think my favorite of beauty tools and something I always have on hand. I love, 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 love these. I love these so much. Now, I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, I'm going to go over some of my more beauty stuff and stuff that I use on myself as well that I use on other people, on clients. So when I come back, we'll talk about some more beauty stuff.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast, dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Welcome back to the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast. Now, this entire podcast, we are talking about what's in my makeup collection, not only beauty related, but kind of special effects related. I'm going through my part of my kit and also through a lot of stuff on my desk just to reorganize a lot of my beauty stuff on my desk, like stuff that I've been doing beauty with as of late in my studio. Now, I want to make it clear that I'm not talking about my entire kit. So this is not everything. This is not my silicones and my all sorts of stuff. And this is not every lip, everything. But I am just talking about the stuff that is here now. So I wanted to start off with some stuff that's in a little bin that I have. This is stuff that I use not only on myself, some of it is just on myself, but I also use on clients. If I use it on clients, obviously it's sterilized and used with a, reusable tool that I can use on them so as not to ruin things with bacteria and whatnot. First off, this is an empty, but I'll talk about that later because that's in another one of my things. Let's talk about some lips. So let's talk first off about these ColourPop X Sophia Nygaard lipsticks. I bought these because they are so cute and they have bats on the outside. And when you open them and twist the tube up, there are bats on the actual lipstick. This is the cutest thing in the history of the world. So I have a few colors here. I actually gave one to a good friend of mine, and so I don't have every single one here, but I did buy the entire kit. I have the color Brucey, which is like a matte green. I have the color Bikini Bottom, which is a cool toned nude, or it's kind of a, I'm swatching things now. It's sort of a cool tone. It's more of a brownie nude. I really like this color. I like all these colors. And then I have two more, which is Screamer, which is a very dark red, almost purple red. And then I also have Fred, which is a bright red. And I feel like I have one more. I think I have one Mrs. Norris, but I don't know where that is, and I need to find that in my cleaning up. Now let's move on to some other lipsticks that I have in here. I have another ColourPop Lippy To Go in the color Capiche. This has a liner and a lipstick that match on each side, and I love this. It's kind of a nudie color. A lot of these are nudes because this is stuff that I wear a lot. And then I have the Too Faced Sweet Peach Gloss, which got run over by a car, but it's still okay. It's real weird. But this is in the color... is there not a color on it? I don't know what color this is. I'm sorry, you guys. I like this, but I'm not sure about it. So let's move on to the next thing in this box. This is the Kat Von D liquid lipstick in the color Bow and Arrow. I love this color, one of my favorites. And I have a mini size and a full size MAC lipstick of Velvet Teddy. This is one of my absolute favorite colors ever. I wore this on my wedding day. Now let's move on to this NYX Powder Puff Lippy, which is good for blending out, and I love this. And this is in the color Cool Intentions. And then I also have a Butter Gloss in the color Glazy Days. Now this one is one I use on clients more than myself. I don't know why it's in this bin. And I also have a Jeffree Star liquid lipstick in the color Family Jewels. I love this color. This is fantastic. And this formula is insane. And I need more of these. And then last but not least in this box, I have a... What is this? Good question. I don't even know where this is from. But this is like a drugstore brand. Everything's rubbed off. What are you? And it's matte in Innocence. Oh, it's Milani Lip in Innocence, and it's matte. It's a very, very nudie color. Now, that's everything that's in this box, lip-wise. But let's move on to what's in this little travel kit that I have that I haven't used for travel in a while, so it's just a bunch of stuff that I'm using it for storage. I'm terrible, I know. First thing I pull out is the NYX Professional Makeup Color Correcting Concealer Palette. This I use for clients, and I love this. Then I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Beauty Express for brows and eyes. This is a brow palette. I use this mainly for clients, not for myself. And then what's next in this bag of wonders? I have a ColourPop Ultra Matte Lip in the color TD Up. It's supposed to be like Tied Up, I think. It's like kind of a purpley color, and it's a lot darker when you open it than it looks in the tube. I do like this color too, but it's very dark. What else can we pull out of here? So this next item is the e.l.f. Mineral Infused Face Primer. Now, I use this for clients, not for myself. I find it works better on people with an oilier skin type than me, which has a very, very dry skin type. If you haven't been here before, that's what it is. What is it? There's so much in here. Sorry for the little noise in the background. Then I have the MAC Dazzle Shadow Liquid in the color Every Day is Sunshine. This is my favorite thing ever, favorite color. I wore this on my wedding day. It's fantastic. It's not too pink. It's just a beautiful, gorgeous shimmer that you can have be super opaque or not opaque at all. Now, oh look, I found the last ColourPop X Sophia Nygaard, and it is in the color Mrs. Norris. This is a very cool toned, almost gray toned brown, and I love this. Now, I knew I had it. Let's pull out something else in here. Oh, my concealer. So this is my personal concealer, and this is the Milk Makeup Flex Concealer in the color Vanilla. this is a brightening concealer for me. Now, I'm going to pull out the rest of the items in here and tell you guys about them after I take a break here, and then we'll move on to my makeup bag that I use. I've been using a lot of these items specifically for myself lately, and I'll explain about all of those. I think that I would also like to do a podcast where I go through all of my special effects stuff and explain to you guys what I have and what I use. And I think you guys could really get some interesting information out of that, not only just out of what is in my makeup collection not being everything, but being the stuff that I have here in the studio. So I could bring all my special effects stuff into the studio and let you guys see what that is. Let me know if you'd like to see that or hear that. Excuse me. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go through the rest of this bag and move on to my makeup bag that I use almost every day.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast. Now, before the break and this entire podcast, we're talking about what's in part of my makeup collection. Not only some of my personal stuff, but a lot of stuff that I use on clients and stuff that's in half of my kit that's here in the studio. We've gone through a lot. We've gone through my palettes, we've gone through some of the stuff that's just sitting around in my makeup bag, or not my makeup bag, but my kit, half of my kit. And we were going through my travel kit, which is not actually what I've been using to travel with. It's just kind of been used as storage, and I'm cleaning up, like I said, in here. And so I will be using this as my actual travel bag. So let's move on to what else is in here. Now, I'm going to pull out the next item, and this is the Revolution Concealer. Conceal and Define is what it says. And this is in the shade C1. Now, I was using this, but I also use this on some of my clients because it's a really good match for some of them. I didn't like this specifically on myself, but I do like this on a lot of other people. Now, let's move on to some two items I see in here, and these are both Jeffree Star items. Now, this is the Jeffree Star Velour Liquid Lipstick in the color Soul Sucker. And this is, it was a Halloween mystery box exclusive, and it's a gorgeous black with, orange glitter in it, and I love this. I wore this on Halloween. I still love the consistency, the texture, the whole thing with these liquid lipsticks are my favorite, and I got this in the box as well as the next one, which is I think it's his bullet lipsticks. I'm not exactly sure what it's called or what they're exactly called unless I can read it. Man, this is in a bright yellow packaging, and the sticker is bright green on the bottom, and it's hard to actually read the sticker. So let me hold this up. This is the color Glazed, and when I open it, it is a beautiful sheer sparkle color. It's like a good topper, or even wearing it by yourself gives a nice sheen to the skin. I love this color. Oh, it smells so good. It smells like, I don't know, like sweets in the best type of way. Now, let's see if there's anything else in here, and if not, we will move on to the next one. And I think that's pretty much everything that's in here. And let's move on to my personal makeup bag and all the stuff that I've been using a lot lately. Now prepare yourself, because this is filled to the brim to the point where I can't close it. And I have another bag. So this is the Milk makeup bag that came with one of my sets that I talked about in one of the other podcasts. And I have another one from the other set, and I think I'll have to use that. Now let's just pull out some items here. Now I said I had an empty that was in my little basket. And that is the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. This one is empty, and I have more in here, so you'll hear about that as I go along. The first thing I'm pulling out in here is the Pixi H2O Skin Tint. I talked about this in my last podcast about new products, or I tried it in my last podcast, is new products from Target, and I am really liking this, so I've been testing it out even more and using it, and I'm still loving it. So that's the first thing in here. The next thing I'm going to pull out is this Real Techniques brush. This is the sculpting brush. My friend gave this to me for my birthday, and I love this brush, and so it's just kind of been sitting in there. Now I have another tool in here, and this is my Wet n Wild Beauty Sponge. I have used this in every tutorial that I've talked to you guys, or I've talked you guys through on this podcast, not this specific one, but in other podcasts, and I love this beauty sponge. This is my personal one, obviously, and I have the Milk Makeup Kush Mascara. This is a mini size that was from the one of the kits that I talked about in my Milk Makeup Kit podcast, and I'm using the mini size right now because my other one, my full size, is dried up. Now let's move on to the next thing in here, which is the Puff Puff Primer by e.l.f. I've been still testing this out. This was in my Target podcast, and I've still been testing this out and finding ways that I like it better than all over the face. And on to the next thing, which is my MAC cream color base in Pearl. This is the highlight that I like the absolute best. My favorite highlight ever. Now, let's move on to the next thing. This is the Permanent Popsicle Lip Juice Stain in Creamsicle by the Creme Shop and I talked about this also in my Target video, and I love this. This has become one of my absolutely favorite lip things ever. Like, I liked it in that podcast, but I've been trying it and using it, and I love this. I love the color. I love everything about this, and I am highly recommending it. Now let's move on to the next thing, which is my Milk Makeup Kush Fiber Brow Gel in the color Dutch. I use this every day. I love this. It's my favorite brow product, and the color is perfect for my eyebrows. Speaking of eyebrows, I have my eyebrow spoolie, and I also have my e.l.f. eyebrow gel. It's an eyebrow gel and eyelash like primer kind of thing duo, and I found actually that they're both exactly the same thing, and I don't like using on my lashes, so I use these for my eyebrow gel, my clear brow gel. Now let's move on to my eyeshadow primer, and this is the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion, and this is the anti-aging one. I love this a lot. It works really well. Another good primer is actually the e.l.f. eyeshadow primer. That one works really well as well, but I also like this one. I don't know, they're both good. Now let's move on to the next thing in here, which is another foundation. And this is my Milk Makeup Sunshine Skin Tint in the color Light. This is amazing, and I love it. And I am going to I haven't put my makeup on today. So I thought, because I've been testing out a lot of products that I talked about in my last podcast even more, and I'm finding what I like the best, and I'm thinking about mixing this with the Pixie H2O skin tint and seeing how that works on my skin. I love to play around with makeup and see what works the best. This is my favorite absolute foundation. It's slightly buildable. It's very light coverage. It makes your skin look so dewy and natural. And I wish I had it in every color to use on clients because this is amazing. It just makes it look like your skin, but better. And I'm finding that I also love this skin tint, but I'd love to mix the two. I love to do that kind of thing and see what works best. Not only so I can tell you guys, but also for my personal kit, seeing if I, should drop the money and buy all of the shades to use on clients and mix with other things to make perfect shades and that kind of thing. Now, I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to finish up what's in this personal makeup bag.
The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back to the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast. Now, this entire podcast, we've been talking about what's in not only my personal makeup kit, but also in my professional kit, at least half of it, because I am cleaning out the studio and I got a lot of makeup in here that needs to be organized. So I thought I'd go over it before I get all this organization done, since everything's kind of everywhere. So before the break, we were talking about my personal makeup kit, and I've been going through what's in there. We talked about some of the stuff that we talked about in the last podcast, and I was talking about, stuff that I'm actually using and still trying out, and I'm going to move on to what else is in here. So what else is in here is the Milk Makeup Kush Mascara. This is my old one. I need to throw this away. I'm glad I went through this. But I love that mascara. It's my absolute favorite. And on to the next item, which is my Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. This is the sample size. It's very small. Like I said, it was out of my other size, or my original one of this, and so I've been using that. But on top of that, there's another one in here, because I bought both of those kits for the Milk Makeup Kit podcast, the little that give you sample sizes. That was a sample size. This is a deluxe size, which is not the full size, but this is another Hydro Grip Primer. I love this stuff. This is just so amazing, and I think it makes your skin look so beautiful. So I'm glad that I have much to continue to use. And let's move on to what else is in here. I'm going to pull out, what are you? This is the Milk Makeup Lip and Cheek in the color Work. I love this one. It's very nice. I'm not a big blush fan, and this is one of my favorites. I am really going to try and layer this with my Likely Makeup Clown Blush palette and see how that goes. Now, on to the next item, which is my Milk Makeup Cooling Water. I love this for under the eyes. It makes my under eyes feel so good. Love this. It's amazing. And I also think I have my Watermelon Brightening Serum. Yep, it's right here. This is my watermelon brightening serum. These are all the small size. I have been using it, but I'm not sure how much I like it. I'm still working on that. I'm not sure if it's really doing anything, and sometimes I go without it, and I feel like I don't have a difference, or I don't feel a difference. Now, the next thing is another Milk Makeup item. I know I've got a lot of Milk Makeup, and this is the Glimmer Glow Oil Lip and Cheek, or it's the Glow Oil Lip and Cheek in the color Glimmer. This is a deceiving color to me, but it's still really nice. And let's move on to the next item. More Milk Makeup. Surprise! And this is the Milk Makeup Matte Bronzer in the color Baked. I love this color. I'm a very fair lady, and it almost is sort of cool toned, and I love this color. If you're a fair lady and you're worried about bronzers because everything looks real orange on you, I would go for this. And also, Milk Makeup, if you're listening, which you are probably not, make more colors of this for everybody, because this formula is amazing. Now, let's move on to my next item, which is the, surprise, surprise, Milk Makeup. Milk Makeup highlighter in the color Blitzed. I'm still not sure how I feel about this. It's a little too dark for me, but I'm glad I found this because I'm going to move it to my kit, because I'm going to sanitize it and then use it on clients, because I think this would look a lot better on different skin tones. Now, I have a bunch of sample sizes and a sample bag, if you can hear. It's an interesting sound, of the Vegan Milk Moisturizer. I think I love this, and I was worried about it because then I have to spend like $38 to get a full size. I'm already out of one, and I love it so much. Also in here is the e.l.f. Happy Hydration Cream, which is the one we talked about also in the last podcast. And I like to over moisturize, double moisturize. So I moisturize first with the Milk Makeup Vegan Milk Moisturizer, and then I go in afterwards with the Happy Hydration Cream. I actually love both of these, and the combination makes my skin feel so good. Now, what else is in here? What else is in here? Oh, here we go. This is my Lime Crime plushie in the color Chocolate Milk. I love this, and today I haven't done my makeup, like I said earlier, and I'm going to layer this with the Cream Shop Lip Juice Stain and see what I get. I think it's going to be gorgeous. Now, I think that's pretty much everything that's in the bag. Oh, except for my eyeliner. Let's talk about that. And we're dropping things. Look at that. I'm making more of a mess for myself to clean up at this point. But this is the NYX Epic Ink Liner in the color Black. And I love this. It is a dupe for the Kat Von D one. I think they're actually just Von D Beauty now. I think they rebranded and she stepped back from it. And I absolutely positively love this liner because it's a dupe for that, and it is so much cheaper. And it's got a brush tip, unlike a felt tip, and I prefer a brush tip because I can more kind of draw with it, if that makes sense, and it helps me get a more precise line. Now, speaking of that, let's move on to another thing that I actually got. I actually wanted to talk about this at the end of this so we could kind of a recap to the last podcast. If you haven't listened to the new makeup items or makeup and beauty items at Target, which is my last podcast, go listen because that one was amazing and I got so many products, and I want to talk about some of the stuff that's not in this bag, but it's out here that I've still been trying and using in different ways, and if I like it or not. Oh, my stomach just grumbled. I think I'm a little hungry. So I thought I'd take the last bit of this podcast to do that. Now, let's talk about the Cream or Creme Shop Faux Freckle Stamp that's got the heart on one side and then the Faux Freckle Stamp on the other. I personally don't think that faux freckles are for me. I will try again, but doing it under my makeup, under my foundation, but I've been feeling kind of iffy on it. So yesterday, I did my makeup and I used the felt tip that's on the one side for faux freckles as a eyeliner, and it was fantastic. And then I smoked some brown eyeshadow on top of it that matched, and it was phenomenal. And honestly, this heart side, I love the little heart stamp. It's so cute, and I've been using it a lot. I love the little heart stamp on the one end. I think it's fantastic, and I love the fact that it's brown because it just looks so soft instead of like a real black stamp of a heart on your face. I really, really love this. For other uses, I love the heart, and I like the felt tip that's supposed to be for freckles as eyeliner. I'm just saying, you don't have to use products the way that they say you can. You can kind of play around. Just make sure things are eye safe, or if you've got the guts to go out and do things that aren't eye safe, which I would not recommend at all, then there are those options as well. Now let's move on to the all the Feels face oil. I've still been using this before I do my moisturizer just to try it and really kind of give it a chance. I don't know if it's helping or not or what it's doing, but I'm going to continue to use it. And then if I feel like it's not really doing anything, then I don't know what I'm going to do. Now let's move on to the weirdness of the jelly highlighter. So the jelly highlighter, I was not a fan of it when I was on the podcast and I talked about it, and I still am not sure how I feel about it. I've been using it in different ways, not for my highlight, but more in the eyes, and I like the way it looks there. It's very pretty. I'm still trying different ways to use it as a highlight, and I'm not sure. It's a fun product, but I don't know about it, and because it dries down so fast. It's actually all over my finger because earlier I put it on the back of my hand and I really tried to quickly blend it out with my finger, and it blended out beautifully like that. So I might use my finger the next time, and once it blended out, it was on my finger and it was there. It did not budge. It did not make everything else sparkly on my hand. It just stayed. So it does stay, and it's got great staying power, but I really need to keep playing with this to see how I feel about it. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was the lip balm. And surprise, surprise, this is in my bag. Now, the lip balm that was part of the e.l.f. skincare kit, it didn't break my lips out. If you're new here and you don't know, every type of chapstick that I try makes my lips break out in a, kind of like, I don't know, they're disgusting. They look like cold sores, but they're not cold sores, if that makes sense. It's a whole thing. But I try lips, chapsticks and whatnot all the time just to see if I can find one that works for me. And lo and behold, this has not broken my lips out at all. So I'm in love with it, but I'm going to keep trying it. And if it does, then I'm going to have to stop. I just wanted to put this in there, and I want to thank you guys so much for sitting with me, dealing with me today, talking about all the stuff that's kind of in my kit and whatnot, and also in my personal collection, at least the stuff that's here in the studio. And I am so thankful that you guys let me do this since I'm kind of cleaning, and I hope that it kind of gave you an insight into what I use and how I use things. And I still want to get across the fact that you don't have to use products the way that they're supposed to be. Unless it's not safe for wherever you're putting it, then you should be very wary. But once again, guys, I want to thank you so much for listening to the GSMC Beauty Tips podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Colleen, and I will talk to you in the next one.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network, from health and wellness to entertainment and life and happiness to sex and relationships. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Beauty Tips Podcast.